Hey everybody, welcome to Adobe Desk. My name is Brent, and today I'm going to be going over the image within text effect in Photoshop Creative Cloud. Now this effect is really great for advertisers. If you do any sort of advertising in print or advertising in social media or really any kind of visual advertising, this works really well. It's nice, clean. The text obviously has nice sharp edges and outlines, and yet having the image in there behind it really gives it a lot of color and texture, and it really helps it stand out off the page. So really effective in the world of advertising and design. So let's get started. First thing I do is I start with just the image I've imported here. I chose this image because not only does it have green and blue, which are my two favorite colors, but it has this nice dividing line here, which is where the water meets the beach and where it meets the jungle. So if I can put the text right over that, it's going to give it a couple different textures and it's going to give it a few different colors. So making the most out of the image that I've got. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get started with creating a copy of the background. I'll make the original one transparent, so we're looking at the top layer. Next, I'm going to create the text overlay. So I'm just going to make it beach, right? But I'm going to set the point size pretty high, like 500 there. Yeah. Now I'm using the font Avener Next Bold, and I've even bolded it to make it even larger. You really want to have a font that has a lot of white space or a lot of area to it. If you choose anything too thin, you're just not going to have a whole lot shining through there. So I went with something that's just a little bit bigger, and I recommend you do the same. So I'm going to go ahead and move that down to where I really want to see it. And I think around there is going to look really cool, because right there I'm going to get a little bit of the beach, a little bit of the water, sky, and a whole lot of the green in the mountains. I think that's going to look pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and click the check mark to set that. Now I'm going to move this background copy that I created. And, I need to get into the habit of renaming these, so I'm going to do this to layer 1. I'll call it, with beach text right behind it. So this is technically covering up the text, but we're going to do a little effect that's going to give us the text and the image and text effect. And it's super simple, actually. All we have to do is right click on that layer and go to create clipping mask. And right there it's done for us. How easy is that, right? But I'm not done yet, because I want to create two sets of text, right? So I'm going to go down here with the text tool, and I'm going to create another, it keeps wanting to give me that. I'm going to create another chunk of text, and this I'm going to make Adobe Desk. And that I need to take down to about 150 pixels. And you can't see it because it's technically hiding behind that layer. I'm going to put it on, no, I don't want it to be a clipping mask. I'm going to put it down below beach so you can see it. And of course I've misspelled it. Let's do that again, Adobe Desk. And we'll hold down Command, move it down into position. Right around there is good for now. I'll just do it first. So notice how this doesn't have the image shining through behind it. Why is that? Well, because the clipping mask that we created on this layer down here is attached to the beach layer. So if we want to create another one, all we have to do is create another copy of layer 1. If I can grab it. Go ahead and make a copy, and I'm going to move that in between the two texts. So this is now laying over everything here. I'm just going to create another clipping mask for it. Now I could just right click and go hit create layer mask, but there's actually a shortcut I'll show you now. All you have to do is hold the Alt or Option key, and then right when you get in between the two, that icon changes to a little box with a down arrow. You just click that, and there you go, done for you. So I'm going to move that into position a little bit better. I want to move this up so there's a little bit of overlay between the two, something about like that. Well, maybe move the beach around just a little bit too. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. And the reason I really like this effect is if you grab one of the texts, you'll notice that, oops, didn't grab the right one. Text please, there we go. you'll notice that if I move the text around, it's just showing more of the same image. So you can create some really cool effects like that too. Notice, it's just showing me more beach. If I go up here, it'll show me the mountains behind there. It's all kind of moving with the same image, but the two images are separate. So if I were to move one image, they would no longer line up the way I want them to. So I'm just going to leave that right there. And I'm going to do one more thing, which is create a new layer. I'm going to go put it underneath everything, and then I'm just going to grab the paint bucket and paint it white. So there you go. That's it. Pretty simple, right? Now there are a couple other things you can do to make this stand out a little bit more, but I'm not going to do it on my final product, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to right click on beach, and I'm going to go up to blending options. And there's this interesting thing you can do called drop shadow, and what that does is it gives a shadow to that beach text effect. So if I do this, drop shadow, put it on there, yeah, opacity, turn that up, distance, you'll notice how I'm getting that shadow sticking out from around that beach text. And I can modify it to kind of soften the shadow, make it sharper. I'm going to make that pretty low. Spread's pretty low too. Distance, it's all right. I'm going to set this up to about around 45 degrees. And then if I want it really dark, I can up the opacity, or if I want to soften it, I can turn it down. If I were to be just using this text here, I'd leave it around like that. So notice it created this nice shadow effect around the text. But I'm not going to leave it there, and I'll tell you why. Because the shadow created a dividing effect between my two different texts here. Notice, like right there, that E and C here used to connect perfectly, and it looked like it was all just cut out with the same image. But now with that shadow, it's kind of created a divider between it. The shadow is the divider. So I'm going to leave that as is. I think it looks fine like that. It's nice and clean. If I want to move it, I'm just going to select everything together and move it all to the center. That's it. I'm going to call it a day right there. I could play with this some more, but I'm not going to. So go ahead and group that and call it a day. So that's it for this tutorial. If you have any questions, let me know on social media. Otherwise, have a good day, and I will see you in the next video.